Say my name. I am awake. I am the danger. I am the one who knocks.
Okay, here we go. Well, we'll just do it. Let's just dive in. Okay, here we are, folks. We've made it. All of you who have been following along this entire show, we have made it. Season 5, episode 16, Felina. And Cabe's made the executive decision that we're not going to recap this one because he says everyone knows this one. It's basically the best episode in the whole show. So I'm taking his word for it. So we're going to skip the recap and just assume that everybody who's been following along definitely knows what happens in this episode.
Yep.
So we'll just jump to the title, Felina. Where does it come from? You've got some theories, right, Cabes?
Yeah, the chemistry with the Felina and Na. What was it? Iron. It was supposed to be in like blood, meth, and tears, I think is what it was supposed to represent. Kind of like a culmination of everything that's happened in Walt's life and what's led to right now. And it was perfect. I love it.
Yeah, I don't know if that's true. That may be true. Maybe if there's some chemists, they can kind of fact check us on that one. It might be. I mean, those definitely are initials from the periodic table, so that definitely could be another theory. This is no theory. Is that it's an anagram with the word finale.
Sure.
But also, Felina is the love interest in the very famous song El Paso by Marty Robbins, which plays in the intro. And in fact, when Walt is sitting in the car, which we'll get to in just a second, there's a tape of Marty Robbins sitting there in the car. And so, and the character's name is Felina in that one, but it's spelled with F-E-L-E-E-N-A. So it's not exactly that, but it might be, again, an anagram of that and finale. Yep. So those are your theories. That's where the name comes from. It's definitely an odd name, though. I mean, so maybe there's another one out there, but that's what I got. So
yep, that's solid.
Okay, the intro. So this starts with Walt in a car somewhere frozen. It's got to be New Hampshire because that's where we left him. And he's trying to get it started. Looks like he's trying to hotwire it and he can't figure it out. And then he hears a siren and sees police lights. And we're all thinking with him, they're going to come bust him because we remember that he had called them to the bar. And I guess he had just left. It looks like he's in the parking lot of the bar and just got in a car and tried to steal it. And then the siren goes away and he finds the keys and he says, tellingly, he says, "Just get me home." So we're trying to sort of figure out motives here. For whatever reason, he wants to go home. Yeah, that's what he needs to do.
At the end of the last episode, he had accepted his fate. He had accepted that his family has turned their back on him after everything he's done. He had tried his last chance with Walt Jr. or Flynn to send him money, and he was all out of options. But when he saw the video of Elliot and Gretchen saying those things, it just ignited a fire in him. So yes, him saying like, "Just get me home," like we don't know at this point, like, is he just angry at Elliot and Gretchen and now he just wants to, or did that just breathe some sort of life into him where he wants to do whatever he can to not go out the way that he was about to go out?
Hard to say, but those are the only words he says in the intro. And so we just have to assume that he, whatever reason, wants to get home and he's willing to throw caution to the wind. He could have just disappeared into the night and been a different person and continued to live somehow. He's got tons of money, but I think he also knows he doesn't have long to live.
Right.
Or at least he believes that because of his cancer. All these things come together and he's just going to head home and come what may. So that's the intro. The show proper starts with him pulling into a gas station and using a payphone to impersonate a New York Times journalist who wants to interview the Schwartzes. And he does that to try and get their address. And I guess this was a different era. Obviously, he's calling from a payphone.
Right.
It's hard to find those anymore. Which is crazy because this was only, 2014, 15, something
This
like
was
that?
the finale was in 2013. So
Wow. Okay. So even in 2013, it wasn't that unheard of to have a payphone, I guess, in a
right.
TV show. So you could also feasibly at that time just call an agent of somebody and get the personal address of somebody pretty rich and powerful. So that's what he does and gets the address. He then breaks into their home, the Schwartzes, and I mean, everything that we've been led to think hitherto is that he's going to kill them.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's pissed at them. I mean, like you said, it lit a fire in him, and I don't know what he wants to do. Did he want to set the record straight? He doesn't. He really didn't like that Gretchen had said in that interview that Walt is gone and she doesn't know who this new guy is, this Heisenberg figure. And it was almost like he wanted to prove that that's false or something, that really I'm still Walt. And the old resentments that he's had against them for a long time seem to bubble up. So we don't know what he's going to do.
Yeah, it hit his pride. And we've seen that throughout the show where it really does, really hit his ego like that. And you're right, like we didn't know what he was doing, but obviously we see how his plan plays out. What obviously we'll talk about now.
Yeah, and he kind of toys with them a little bit. He says, "I've got something for you. Come out here." And Elliot's like, what does he stand in front of Gretchen? And he's like, "I'm ready to die. Like, I'm not going to let you carry out your diabolical plan," or something. But he has them help him unload all of his cash into their living room. And then it gets kind of crazy. He says, "I want you to deliver this to Walter Jr. on his 18th birthday. Can I trust you to do that?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, absolutely. We'll do that for you." And I'm thinking, what on earth? There's no reason at all that he should trust them.
Right.
And of course he knows that too, although he seems naive at first, like, okay, like pinky promise you're going to do this. And, they're a little dumbfounded by the whole thing, but they know, okay, all we have to do is agree and then he'll leave. Then we can just turn this money over to the police or something, or even keep
Elliot
it if they wanted.
Way more of a pushover than Gretchen. Gretchen obviously had a little bit more skepticism in the ask, and Elliot was just, of course we will do that for you. he was he had no Heisenberg of his own, let's put it that way.
Right. Well, we were reminded of when Walt asks the vacuum repair guy if he would do it, and the guy says, "Would you believe me if I told you that I would?"
Right.
And it brought the dynamic to the surface that once you're dead, Walt, there's no way of enforcing this contract.
Mm-hmm.
So why would you trust that it would be carried out?
Right.
And then Walt takes a kind of Hobbesian approach, which is, I'm going to put the fear of death in them. And even if they can't verify that this threat will be carried out, the mere fear that it will keep them honest. And so
the two best hitmen this side of the Mississippi. That's what he said.
Yeah, I paid them $200,000 to assassinate you if you don't give them the money. And, I mean, the laser beams looked pretty scary, and they're terrified. The acting was superb.
Right. Yeah,
and
don't you move a muscle.
That's right. That's right. These guys are top of the game here. And then, of course, so then he leaves, and he has pretty good faith now that they're going to carry it out. And so it seems like Walt's scheme in the end to get the money to Walter Jr. is going to work.
Right.
Now, we could spend some time, if we wanted, talking about what do you think Walter Jr. would do when he's 18 and gets that money?
So he's at least 16.
So it's
So
not that long. Yeah.
right, so it's right around the corner. It probably will depend because say he is 16, 2 years from now, his mom is obviously working tough jobs. I believe she was working as a call center at a taxi company. So yeah, like if it was like coming from Elliot and Gretchen, maybe he would. But
Well,
at
right.
the
And
same
that's what I
time,
think. So was the idea that Walter Jr. will never know that it actually comes from Walt?
correct. That's the only reason. That's the only way that Walt knew that Walter Jr. would accept it if he knew it wouldn't come from him. But it gave Walt the peace of mind knowing that it was his because he made a point. He said,
Hmm.
if there's any legal fees, any taxes, you make sure it comes out of this pile.
Right,
All of
right.
this will be from me, even though Walt Jr. is none the wiser.
Yeah, that's an interesting point because he could have just showed up to their house, had the laser beams put on them, and said, if you do not cut a check for my son out of your own bank account for X amount, then these guys are going to kill you. He
Right.
could have done that, but it was back to the pride thing.
Yep.
It's got to be my money. I did this. I did this. You see that, Holly? Daddy did that.
Yeah.
That's what he.
Even back when Walt and Skylar were discussing possibly getting divorced, and Walt filled out all the papers where he handled every single bit of financial responsibility. And she was like, Why are you doing this?" And he goes, "Because it's my family. This is my responsibility. I will provide." So that's been a key thing for him from the very
Yeah,
beginning, that he is going to be a provider no matter what.
yeah, and that's going to play into the idea that we started this whole discussion with, and we'll have another episode when we kind of recap of the whole show of Walt as a noble villain in a way, somebody that you still recognize there are qualities of excellence in him or something to admire, I'll say, where he, a truly evil person would want to steal the money and give it, but it's important to him that he's earned it, quote unquote, and wants his son to have only what he's himself earned.
Right.
So anyway, we'll come back to that. But then Walt gets in the car, and we see that the two best hitmen, west of the Mississippi, are in fact Badger and Skinny Pete, which was great, man. I mean, I don't know how Walt was always able to connect with them, but it was good to see them again. So then something interesting happens. He says, "I've heard that the blue meth is still on the market. Where is it coming from?" And they say, "Well, we thought you were doing it." And he's like, "I'm not doing it." And then he says, "Oh my gosh, it was Jesse." And then he starts to put the pieces together that Jesse's. I mean, do you think he's speculating at that point that Jesse is doing it against his will?
I don't think so, because even though all the way up to the episode where Hank gets shot, to that point, Walt was, I need to take care of Jesse. And then from after Hank was shot, his anger shifted totally to Jack and
Jack, yeah.
his goons. And so at this point, I don't think he really cared so much about Jesse because whatever happened happened. And right now it's mostly because of Jack. Jack killed Hank. He took all his money. Two things that were most important to him was family and the money. And Jack is sole responsible for that. And so at that point, when he heard Jesse was still cooking, he knew that Jack, yeah, I do. To answer your question, I do believe that he probably thought he was doing it against his will and he was being forced to, because they did not look like partners, unless he thought Jesse was smart enough to wheel and deal with them somehow.
Yeah, but Jesse had been trying to get out for a long, long,
Yeah.
long time.
Yeah. No, you're
Okay,
probably right.
so put this together for me. Back to the payphone when Walt is trying to get the address. When he's done and he hangs up, he takes his watch off and leaves it on the payphone.
Yeah.
Where did he get that watch, Cabes?
So he got that watch for his birthday from Jesse.
From Jesse, exactly.
Yeah.
So when he puts the watch on the payphone, it seemed to me he was sort of signing Jesse off. Like, I want even this token of memory of Jesse gone. And maybe he's also thinking, I mean, it's a watch, which is just pregnant with symbolism, like time's up now. I mean, I have no idea, time doesn't matter, something like that. But it seems like he's washing his hands of Jesse in that moment. And then here, like the next scene, basically, he's thinking, oh my gosh, they've got Jesse. I've got to go. I've got to do something.
Well, the other thing is he told Skinny Pete and Badger, I've heard blue meth is still in the market. Where did he hear that? Who did he talk to? Is it because did he hear that because they Elliot and Gretchen, they mentioned it on the TV where it's like, oh, it's all the way in Czech Republic, it's everywhere, and it's still going on to this day. So maybe that is where he saw that it's still being
Could be.
done.
I mean, it might have been in the newspaper. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's reading a lot of newspapers.
Yeah, I mean the watch scene, because you don't, up to that point there was really no indication of Jesse being in the forefront of any kind of thought or discussion or anything. And so for him to take it off and put it there, yeah. I mean, did he think Jesse was dead though? Because they told him, "Hey, listen, we're just going to find out what he knows, and then we'll do it. Is that all right with you?" And he's like, "Yep."
Bingo. Good point. Yeah, that seems right. So he could have put the watch on the payphone and be like, "Yeah, good riddance, Jesse. Rest in peace. You're dead."
Right.
And then when he learns that he's not dead, then I mean, I think he was already going to go to Jack, right? He already had the guns. Like he already knew what he was planning to do. But now there's another reason to go.
Right.
And that's to figure out what's going on with Jesse, because I think everything in him says that makes no sense why Jesse would still be doing this.
Yeah. And at that payphone do you remember the very first episode of this season shows him at the diner for his 53rd birthday. And that's when he gets the gun and everything. And then it just skips to the past, or goes back to the past. And then it skips all the way to right now where he was. So I love what they did with that whole just switching of the lines to know.
Right.
When you first see him and he has a full head of hair, and then he goes back to the present at the time.
It's disorienting for sure. You don't know what's going on. Yeah.
It almost made you forget all about that. But oh man, yeah, that was good.
Yeah. Well, and it does the same thing when it flashes to Walt back at his old house retrieving the poison from the electrical outlet. We remember, oh yeah, we've seen the beginning of that scene already. We know what happened. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay, well then the next scene is a sort of weird dreamlike thing. It's actually really beautifully done cinematically, where Jesse's, I guess, in high school in shop class, and he's building a beautiful wooden box, working with his hands. And it's a very noble picture of an honest trade. That's a craft. And then it flashes to him in the lab as a slave. And the contrast is very striking in every kind of way.
Well, it was really interesting, that scene, because we have never seen Jesse before he made the choices that put him in this role, where he was dealing meth and hanging around bad folks like Combo and Skinny Pete and Badger. And this was him before all that, when he actually he was on the right path per se. And then you're right to fast forward and then just jump it right into him being a slave, cooking meth, just with no hope at all. Is just really, it was definitely well done.
Yeah. Well, it definitely makes you sympathize for Jesse and his plight even more than, perhaps you were already. But so then Walt shows up at the coffee shop where Todd and Lydia have their regular meeting. And, he tells them, I have a new way of making meth without methylamine, and I know you're going to need it, and you should, you need me.
You're running low on methylamine, yeah.
Right. Which was bright. Now we know in hindsight that the reason he's there, the main reason I think, is to put the ricin in the stevia packet for Lydia to ingest and make herself potentially deathly ill, I guess. I don't know if it's going to kill her, but it's going to make her really sick. I was thinking, why didn't he just put it in the packet and then leave? Maybe he wanted to make sure that she was the one that sat there and took it, because he doesn't want to just poison random people, and he wants to make sure it goes to the right person. But he also maybe needed an excuse to show up to Jack's.
Yeah, he needed the meet. He needed it scheduled. So he had planned all of this out. And so for him to do that, it was more like, oh, why do this? Might as well put some ricin in there.
Hmm.
That, so I don't have to deal with that also.
So
And in a way, also, I gotta think, because when he met with Skylar, well, we'll talk about that later when he does meet with Skylar, but it was also him like protecting the family because he needed to make sure that there were no loose ends. He needed to do all the things he was going to do to protect Skylar and Walt Jr. and Holly. But we'll get into that a little bit later when we get there.
okay. Well, so in the meeting, does he say, "I'll come by tonight" or something like that? I mean, does he tell? How does he even know where to go?
Well, I think he knows he's met them there before to discuss when he met Jack there to discuss killing the prisoners.
Okay, so this is their regular place
Right.
then.
So he knows where it was.
So he doesn't even need an invitation. He's just already let Todd know. So when he shows up, it's not
Right.
unexpected.
Right. And maybe they did some off camera, like, hey, come by at 8.
Right. Well, okay. So Lydia is like, okay, you know what you need to do. You need to kill him, which is, of course, Lydia's solution to everything because she's so paranoid. But I think that was completely what Walt would have expected. So then there's this brief scene without any dialogue where Walt is in the desert and setting up some guns, and obviously it all makes sense in the end. But he's doing something lethal there in the desert.
Yep.
And then it flashes to Skylar's apartment where Marie calls and says, "Hey, we've learned that Walt's around. You need to be careful, and we're going to be sending people around to monitor and all of that." And then they hang up, and Walt's there in the kitchen already. And Skylar says, "You've got 5 minutes."
I love how they panned the camera because you didn't see Walt at all in the kitchen because he was hiding behind the column. And then right when she hung up with Marie, it panned to the left and you see him just standing there the whole time. That was brilliant.
Yeah, no, very good cinematography and the way they use the different angles to make the story go. So then they have a pretty interesting conversation where Walt says, "This is going to be over tonight. It ends tonight." And he's basically there to say goodbye, right?
Yeah, this scene was just super sad because he finally admits what we all knew the whole time. And it was one of the best lines in the show for him to finally say, I did it for me. I was good at it. I liked it. And I felt alive. I mean, it's just got goosebumps saying it myself. Such a good line.
Touches you, doesn't it? She's almost like a zombie. I mean, like she doesn't seem even where he says, I felt alive. She seems half dead.
Oh, yeah. Everything that he did to feel alive ruined everyone close to him. I mean, think about it from Skylar's point of view. She lost her husband. She lost her family. She lost her brother-in-law. She lost her sister. I mean, Walt ruined Skylar's life just to feel alive.
Right. Does he doesn't apologize though, right?
No, he does not say I'm sorry. He just admits that he did it for himself, which was the only thing that he's ever really done that was purely honest.
And it's interesting that they don't have Skylar respond with, I mean, she's clearly glad that he says that because she cuts him off and says, "If I hear you say one more time, you've done all this, right?" So she's clearly glad to hear that, but I'm surprised they didn't have her say anything else. She's just sort of like, "Yeah, whatever." And then he's like, "Can I say goodbye to Holly?" And she's like, "Yeah, sure, go ahead."
Oh, that was.
I mean, again, she just doesn't even seem like she's got any fight left in her. Like she's smoking again. I guess that's part of the tragedy. She's so not there that she doesn't even want to fight with him to say, don't you feel bad about this? Don't you want to apologize? Don't you want to? Nothing. And he doesn't even attempt to tell her he's going to make it right. He doesn't say, in 2 years, Walter Jr. is going to get a check. Don't ask any questions. Just accept it. Like, he could have tried to get a little bit more credit there, but he didn't want to ruin it, because then she could tell Walter Jr. that's actually coming from your dad, and then he wouldn't take it potentially.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, she's in the situation right now because the DA doesn't believe her. She has nothing to work with. Like, if he really did feel sorry, he would go to the cops right now and clear her name. And then also, like, you could point the authorities to Jack, but he doesn't do that.
Interesting. Then I think, I don't know, the saddest part is when he kind of says goodbye to Walter Jr. and just watches him walk in the back door, and
Oh yeah, that was
can't even talk to him.
Hmm.
So you're right. I mean, if we add up the cost of what it took for him to feel alive, it's a pretty stark
Oh yeah,
difference there.
he's dead.
So then Walt goes to Todd's and Jack's, and he comes across to them like he's kind of ready to make a deal. And they're like, you shouldn't have come here. And it's clear to them. I mean, Todd's like, man, now we're going to have to kill you. Like,
Yeah.
you really shouldn't have done this. But the thing he says, and I don't know if this was part of his plan, or he says, I want to see Jesse. You reneged on your part of the deal. You've now made him a partner. And it seemed a little bit of a stretch to me for Jack to be like, oh, that's so not true. I'll prove it to you. I'll show you how like degraded we've made Jesse to prove to you that he's not our partner. Why did Jack care? Jack could have just laughed and said, go ahead, think that if you want.
Well, remember, Jack wanted to kill Jesse a couple episodes ago because he was a rat. When they watched the episode,
Right,
the TV, or the recordings. So I think the whole idea of rats, especially from his prison connections, is such a low blow that it just hit him where he needed to be like, no, even though we're going to kill you, I'm going to prove to you that that's not the case.
Well, for whatever reason, they are incensed. I mean, it was almost like an honor thing. Like, you're calling me a liar, and I'm going to prove to you that I'm not a liar because I'm a man of my word. And I have not made Jesse a partner. I've extended the pain for Jesse by keeping him alive as a slave instead of just killing him.
Yep.
So then they bring him out, and Walt pretends to get in a fight with Jesse and tackles him to the ground, opens the trunk of the car, the gun comes out, shoots everyone, and including Walt. And I don't know, maybe I'm reading this a little too much, but because he's on top of Jesse, he's higher than he would have been if he were just on the floor.
Right.
So, is it reading too much into it to say he saved Jesse's life at his own expense, that he took a bullet for Jesse in a way?
I think he was trying to make sure that he stayed on top of Jesse so Jesse did not get up. And so, yes, maybe he did not think he was going to get hit, but he was trying to prevent Jesse from getting hit.
Mm-hmm.
So there's definitely that. And then seeing Jesse finally strangle Todd and get that revenge for what Todd did to him and to his girlfriend and just everything. It was,
I mean, the little boy, I mean, all the things that Todd did that just angered Jesse.
Yep.
He got to take it out on him. I mean, being a kind of benevolent slave master in a way, I guess.
Yeah.
But still a psycho.
Mm-hmm.
So, so he gets his revenge. And then, I don't even know how to talk about the ending here. I mean, it's perfect when Lydia calls Todd and Walt answers the phone. And she says, is it done? Is it finished? And hello, Lydia. How are you feeling? It's just just perfect. Just perfect
Yes,
the way that went
I
down.
loved it. And then him and Jesse finally having that final nod to each other as Jesse rode off. And
Well, before that, something important, right? Where he's holding the gun
Mhm.
against Walt. And Walt tells him, do it. You
Yeah,
want this. And Jesse says, you say it. Tell me that you want it. And he says, I want this. And Walt knows that he's got a bullet in him and he's bleeding out right now. He's not going to live much longer anyway. But it's like he could have just told Jesse, hey, look, I'm shot. Like, I'm already shot. I'm going to die. But it's like he wanted Jesse to have the chance to exact the same revenge that he took out
yes,
on Todd on
yes.
him as like a way of trying to make things right with Jesse.
Yeah, because remember the last words that he said to him was, I watched Jane die. I could have helped her, but I didn't.
Right. Gosh, I
So
forgot that part. Yeah. Wow.
So yes, I definitely agree with you. I think he really wanted to give this to Jesse, and Jesse just said, "Do it yourself," and showed that he is past that, doesn't need that. And in the same sense that Walt was gunning for Jack, uh, Jesse was gunning to get out of there, and
Mm.
that was his main thing. And you see it when he gets in the El Camino and just drives off.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's sort of a classic move. I mean, you see this in like Soviet era stories about, people in prison. And it's like, look, we can execute you, but here's a revolver. We've put in
Mhm.
this like lunchbox. There's one bullet, and you know what this is for. It's almost more degrading to have to kill yourself, right? I mean, it is more degrading. It certainly is. And it's like an additional pain. So
Yeah.
it's Jesse's. I don't know. It's remarkably, it shows two things. It shows a kind of nobility on Walt's part to say, I'm going to give this to you, Jesse, because this is just that you kill me. It's just that you kill me, given what I've done to you. And then it's noble in a way of Jesse to say, I'm not going to do that. You're going to have to do it yourself. And though you want it, is what he's telling him, right?
Yeah.
Just kind of a remarkable dynamic there. So then, yeah, Jesse takes off in the Camino, and Walt walks very casually into the meth lab and just sort of inspects it, for old time's sake. And the music starts.
Oh, it's the best. Right when he picks up the mask and the baby blue music comes on, it's perfect. I remember I had that ringtone on my phone back when you bought ringtones for like the longest time, but I loved it. Just him walking through, just reminiscing, trying to reminisce like the good times, I guess what you could say when he actually things worked out. It was beautiful. It was this part is what makes me want to always rewatch it. Seeing the whole culmination of it just come together from normal dude, the one that always wants to go out and just be the good guy, and then he does the bad thing, and then he realizes it was the worst decision of his life, and then just to kind of come all together is just it's beautiful.
Okay, so final question here as we wrap this whole thing up. So remember, Gretchen says, Walt died a long time ago. I don't know who this new guy is. Do you think she's right? Like, who's the guy lying there on the lab floor? Is that Heisenberg or is that Walt?
I think it's Walt. Honestly, I really do. I think this episode was Walt finally using Heisenberg in some cases, but ultimately defeating it and putting the end to it because I think he did know that this was going to be his last hoorah and that he
Hmm.
had to make it right the best way that he could, even though you can't really make it right. I think that'd be my best guess because Heisenberg's not noble. He's not the virtuous kind of guy that's going to do these right things. He just wants out for him, and this was not this was a very selfless act.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to keep chewing on that one because Heisenberg is an honor-loving guy. He likes honor. He likes being the guy who gets glory. He's the one. He's in the empire business, right? And in a way, living out in New Hampshire with nothing and no glory, like he needed to go out. He needed to go down in flames in a glorious, glorious explosion.
That's fair. I like that.
So I don't know. We'll leave it. We'll have to leave it there and keep pondering. Well, this has been an incredible journey, Cabes.
It's been awesome. What was it, like 60 some episodes?
Yeah, more than 2 years.
Gosh,
Pretty
thanks
incredible.
everyone for listening. If you kept on with us throughout the whole time.
Yeah, and we'll do one final episode to kind of wrap everything up. So we still have one final chance to break into Breaking Bad.